Hi there, and welcome to Studio SN, your place for card making, rubber stamping, and paper crafting tutorials. My name is Sara Naumann, and I'm so very glad you're here. Today I want to share a really cool no-heat foiling technique using grunge paste. And you can see the effect here in the center area of my card where I've got this really fun abstract effect with the metallic foil as well as touches of some beautiful soft pink in here as well. It's an easy technique to do, so let's take a look. First, I'm going to bring in my supplies, and in this case, I'm going to be combining my grunge paste with a little bit of fresco finish chalk acrylic paint, and this is in the vintage lace. Now the grunge paste, you can see through the plastic container, it's a really nice neutral color, which means that you can use it as is. You can also tint it with ink or infusions, or in this case, with acrylic paint. So what I'm going to do is just deposit a little bit of my grunge paste right onto my craft sheet. And I'm going to use a palette knife for this. You can use a plastic knife, you can use a scraper tool, whatever you happen to have on hand. You can see the consistency of that grunge paste. So it's not so stiff and hard that it isn't workable, but it's also not so fluid that it would seep through, for example, a stencil. So I'm just going to get a little puddle of this on here. I'll make sure to close up the lid of my grunge paste so it doesn't dry out. And then I'm going to add my paint here. Now in this case, all I need to do is just deposit a little blob of that again right onto my craft sheet, and this is just going to give me a nicely tinted effect. So I'll mix the two of these together, and that grunge paste will take on that beautiful vintage lace. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of spread this out onto my craft sheet. And I don't want it spread too thin, but I also don't want it to be a really thick layer. And it's just going to be a little bit smaller than the size of the cardstock that I'm working with. I'll grab my cardstock piece here, and this is a smooth white cardstock. You can use watercolor cardstock, you can use kind of whatever you have on hand. And what I'm going to do is simply place the cardstock directly into my tinted grunge paste. And I'm pressing this down because I want it to make contact, really thorough contact with that grunge paste. And then what I'll do is just lift this straight up, and you can see that I've got my really cool abstract background. Now in real life I've got a little bit more of this grunge paste on here, and I would definitely use it, but for the interest of time I'm just going to clean this up off of my craft sheet so that we can move on to the next step. Now, so the next portion of this, I need to apply my foil directly into my grunge paste medium here. The foil that I'm working with is from Wow, and these are the embossing powder folks. This is their fab foil, and the color that I'm using is rose gold. Now with the foil, you can see here you've got two sides. You've got the kind of dull silver side, and then you have the colored side. The fab foil comes in lots and lots of different colors, and this technique of course works with any of them. So I've cut a piece of the foil that is just slightly larger than the area that I'm working with, and what I'm going to do, placing that dull silver side right into my grunge paste, and I'm just going to gently tap this down, and I think you can see the crinkled area here where that foil is sticking into my wet grunge paste. And I'm just going to gently spread my hands around here. I'm not squashing this down. I just want to make sure that I've got enough coverage on here. Now the next part of the process is to let that grunge paste dry, and then we're going to come back and take a look at the result. I've let my piece sit for about 15-20 minutes in order for that grunge paste to dry totally. And what you can do is just sort of pull back a corner of your foil every now and then and just kind of take a peek and see if that grunge paste has dried. Now if you think it hasn't dried, it still needs a bit more time, just replace that foil, smooth it down again, and let it sit for a little bit longer. So your dry time will of course depend on how thick you apply your grunge paste, and probably also the temperature and the humidity where you live. So what I'm going to do now is just pull this back, and you can see that I've got some really cool shine and a beautiful abstract background on here. Now I still have this leftover piece of foil, which I'm going to hang on to because I can still use the foiled areas of this. So I always hang on to these little scraps because you can always use them again. So here we've got the foiled background. The nice thing, of course, is that you're going to get a different look every single time you do this. So you can see even these two pieces look pretty different. Now for the rest of my card, all I've done is added some matting on here with some black and kind of a cream color. The background piece here is just a piece of white cardstock. This has been brayered with koala fresco finish chalk acrylic paints. I've also used a bit of that brayered paper to create this stamped motif. And the stamp is one from PaperArtsy. This is the Eclectica ESN32 stamp set. And I'm using this image down here at the bottom. Now you'll notice with the stamp itself that it's the heart, it's the wings, and it's also some patterned background on here and some words. When I stamped and embossed this, I did it twice, and I cut it out twice, once with the wings and the heart, and then another time separately with just the heart, and that gives me a little bit of dimension on here. A few sequins and a little bit of ribbon, and you are set to go. So this is how you can use grunge paste with your foil sheets to create easy abstract backgrounds. Thank you so much for joining me today on Studio SN. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe to Studio SN on YouTube, and I'll keep you updated on the very latest stamping and card making techniques. In the meantime, please feel free to stop by my website, saranaumann.com, for more paper crafting ideas. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you again next week.